Into Monday night's Talkin' Ball. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton. We are going to be talking a little Texas football, recruiting, maybe a little basketball, men's and women's, as well as some other things that come to mind, including recruiting, portal recruiting. Whatever you guys want to talk about tonight, that's what Jerry and I are here for. Going to take some questions, talk a little bit about it. First, some news before we get going. Texas extended another offer today in the class of 2026. That is Jamion Winfield, a big defensive tackle in the Dallas Metroplex. He is a 2026 prospect, one of a handful of defensive tackles around the country that the Longhorns seem to want, but he seems to be one from in-state that may be at the top of the pecking order. Jerry, we'll talk about that. Also, some Texas offensive players today met with the media quite a bit, including Quinn Ewers. He talked to the media. Matthew Golden, the recipient of that 4th and 13 catch, as well as the 2-point conversion, also met with the media. Lots of stuff going on overall. Texas also back on the practice field today. They will leave for Dallas on Wednesday. Of course, the game not until Friday, and weather in Dallas is not looking kind. Of course, AT&T Cotton Bowl is played in in Jerry World, not in the old Cotton Bowl. So weather shouldn't affect the actual game, but it could affect fans trying to get to the game. So be aware of that as a cold spell hits all of Texas this week. All right, Jerry Hamilton, you've been out and about. You were actually on the road a little bit today, seeing recruits up on I-20. What's the latest, bud?
Yeah, so we'll start. I was at Ouachita Parish High School today in Monroe. I'm now back in DFW area. I drove up to Shreveport last night, Bossier City area, to see Dylan Berryman today in Monroe there at Ouachita Parish High School. 6'2", 320, legitimate without shoes on. I watched him work out today. A guy that Texas leads for. He'll be at the January 25th Junior Day. He's been to Austin 3 times since Kenny Baker in Texas really got on him. And you know, multiple people said today around the program over there at Ouachita Parish that Texas is considered the favorite right now. The kids said that to me before, and we've been on him for a while here at ontexasfootball.com and here on the YouTube channel. But really impressive watching him work out today. Again, he'll be on campus January 25th. He will not. Things can change, but I'd be surprised if he's not like a decision more after the June official visit. LSU will get a visit. A&M will probably get a visit. USC and Miami could be other visits. Ole Miss is in the picture as well. People like Missouri, Arkansas, they've tried, but I just don't see that happening right now. But again, he went to a Texas-Mississippi State game last year. That was his first game visit to Texas. He said it was the best he went to. He went to games this year at Texas, LSU, A&M, Missouri, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. So that's saying something. I think he said his mom really, really likes Austin and Texas. So we'll have more. I did about a 13-minute video with him. We'll have that as the last half of our recruiting breakdown show tomorrow. So you guys can get to know Dylan Berryman a little bit. But one of the best defensive line prospects in the country. It happens to be the head coach over there, Benji James. He used to be coach defensive line, I think the D coordinator at Neville High in Monroe, who's put in guys Will Campbell, LSU, Rashard Lawrence, LSU, John Diarse, Zalance Hurd, the left tackle at Tennessee, a number of guys. And Rashard Lawrence was a borderline 5-star prospect. We had him in the Under Armour game when I was ESPN Under Armour. Coach said today that Berryman's the best D-line prospects he's seen, counting those guys at Neville that he's coached. So that's saying something for Berryman's talent level, and Texas recruiting him as hard as you possibly can. Then you mentioned Jamion Winfield, who I'm going to go see later in the week up here in DFW. We've been mentioning him on ontexasfootball.com a few weeks ago. I put him on offer watch. Look, he's a move-in from Mississippi, but he is the best interior defensive line prospect in the state in 2026. Texas offered him today. I think the original plan was to go see him, but Texas has continued to win. So obviously that wasn't possible to go up and see him to make the offer in person. But Winfield, 6'4", 275, 280. You see his long arms there. Good first, second step player. Still a young prospect in football, but man, he has to get off. He has
Somebody
that.
might want to try to block him on one of these plays, Jerry. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's Richardson Berkner right there in his district. But like A&M's offered, Oklahoma, he has picked LSU. I mean, he has picked up a ton of offers. You want to talk about a guy that can beat somebody to a landmark and outside and wide zone, Bobby? Texas wouldn't want to play against this guy. I know that.
Yeah, no doubt. What high school is he at?
He's at Richardson High, who doesn't produce a lot of Division I football players. But again, he is a move-in from the state of Mississippi. But he has quickly become the top interior D-line prospect in the state in 2026. And it was just going to be a matter of time until Texas offered him. I think they were hoping to do it in person, but Texas continued to win in the playoffs. So they had to make the offer today because college coaches are stopping by. And now it's a battle to see if you can get them on campus for Junior Day on the 25th.
Jerry, as we're watching Jamie on Winfield, Texas also picking up Travis Shaw last night, the defensive lineman out of North Carolina. You didn't do any more recon on that commitment and where Texas sits with the two defensive linemen they've added and what else they want in the portal?
Yeah, so I think you got to be able to play the run. Otherwise, I don't think Kenny Baker, Sark, PK, they're going to take anybody that can't play the run out of the portal at the interior defensive line position because it's just such a necessity. And I think they've got two guys who can play the run in Cole Brevard and Travis Shaw. And Travis Shaw is going to play majority of his plays in the 0-1. Not that he can't play some 3 in a jumbo D-line package, but Texas still wants 2 more guys out of the portal. And we'll see where that goes. And a lot of that number depends on, does everybody else still stay that's on campus right now, right, Bobby, after the spring and whatnot? I'm not saying guys are leaving, but that number could jump to 5 if somebody were to leave that they're not expecting to on the defensive interior. We don't think it'll happen, but you never know. But I think 4 is the number right now, and they're still looking for 2 other guys. We mentioned Terry Webb out of Texas State. He visited Auburn yesterday and then today. He's a guy that came out of Galveston Ball High, went the JUCO route. He's up to 6'3", 310. He's a guy that Kenny Baker recruited at Western Kentucky. So there's a little bit of a prior relationship there. So we're not saying Texas is going to push to get him, but that's definitely a guy of interest that we kind of looked up and that Kenny Baker recruited him in high school. All right, sorry, out of JUCO.
Got it. He was from Kilgore, I believe, via Galveston Ball, if that's not correct.
That's
all
correct.
Right, we got more news and notes to go over. We also have some questions we're going to take here. So let's go ahead and get to that and talk a little bit about it. William Nish, let's start there. PK needs to call the game of his life Friday night. Do you think PK needs to call the game of his life? What about Sark calling the game of his life too? Is it both sides of the coin there?
I think it's got to be Sark in this one because, look, Ohio State's really good. They're going to score points. I think you're going to have to score 30. In my opinion, you're going to have to score 30 or right close to it to win the game. I think it's both offensive coaches in this game, Chip Kelly and Steve Sarkeesian, to call masterclass games offensively. And obviously, Chip Kelly's guys are hitting on all cylinders right now. But we shall see what happens because Texas edges, I think, can get home where Tennessee, even though they had James Pierce, and Oregon did not.
Yep. All right. Little recruiting here. Jerry, this from KD35. Jerry, tell us about 2026 player Jet Washington, the safety from Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, Kobe Bryant's nephew. Sounds like he likes Texas a lot and wants to visit this spring for sure. Is he a national ranked recruit? I know that the Kobe Bryant legacy there means a little something, but is he a nationally ranked recruit and is Texas involved?
Yeah. Texas is involved on some level. We'll see just how much here. And a lot of this will happen after Texas season concludes, whenever that is. Who's Texas go out and see immediately? Where does the staff go? That's going to tell people a lot to follow as people that follow recruiting on social media. Coaches were out today whose seasons have concluded. So where do they go? But Jet Washington, about 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds, one of the top ranked. We'll see where he ends up. Currently ranked top 30, 35 kid in the country. He has offers from all over. Again, does Johnny Nansen, when the season's over, go out there and see him pretty quickly? That will tell Texas fans a lot where Jet Washington currently stands for the Texas staff.
This one from Wilson Johnson. Guys, been seeing a lot of talk, in quotation marks, from the media about Sark being a hot coaching candidate for the NFL. Is this truly just talk, or is it something we should be worried about? It's not idle talk. I don't think that's a fair description. I mean, he's winning. He's been in the college football playoffs 2 years in a row, has a pro pedigree, is in the semifinals this year, and has a way with quarterbacks that NFL teams probably like. The question I have is whether or not he wants to walk away from a Texas job right now where he can choose his own players. He has complete autonomous control over personnel right now, has his own control over his own salary cap, essentially, with the collective, as well as what's coming via revenue share. And he's sitting there with it. He can choose his own quarterback every 2 or 3 years, right? So it's not like the NFL where you can get saddled with a quarterback that you really can't win with. College is a little bit different. And I also think that he wants to win and win big first in college before he goes to the NFL. And then you have the factor of coaching Arch Manning. And at what level is his word to the Manning family of value to him long term when you're talking about dealing with the first family of football at some point, right? All of those things are factors, Wilson. So I would not say it's idle talk, but I wouldn't say it's hot and heavy either. Some media guys are throwing his name out, and that's fine because there are some teams that probably want to talk to him. But I haven't heard of any. They're saying they're narrowing their focus to him and even 1 or 2 other people at this point. So while it's not idle talk, it's absolutely not something to be concerned with yet, in my opinion. Kyle Vachoska, Jerry, can you talk about the state of recruiting with this Oregon kid, quarterback, if you missed it, signed with Oregon out of high school, enrolls early, and then 1 week in, transfers to Cal. He even practiced with the team before the bowl game, yet now he's in the portal. Make it make sense. Is this a sign that Oregon's going in a different direction at quarterback, maybe?
Well, they have Dante Moore, who is going to be the guy next year. And I'm pretty sure
over Austin Novastad, the young man out of Dripping Springs.
I hear a lot of Dante Moore. I'm not Dan Lanning and I'm not the Oregon staff, but I hear a lot of Dante Moore out of there. And I think the kid got up there and, look, he flipped from Cal to Oregon. He got up there and said, wow, I mean, I have a better chance of starting out because Cal's quarterback went in the portal. Mendoza went in the portal. So suddenly you get in there in Oregon and you're battling 2 guys who are ahead of you. And then, Cal has a spot open and we'll see what he does ultimately. But I think Dante Moore had something to do with that, honestly. Dante Moore, I think, is going to be a really good player.
Okay, that makes sense. Hey, Jerry, we got a couple questions about 2 players. Damon Wilson, defensive end out of Georgia, very talented player, right? And then also Tyler Lockwood, a tight end out of Alabama. We think that Texas might be interested in Wilson. Think is the operative word, but Ty Lockwood out of Alabama is unlikely to be one. Is that accurate in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, based on what we know, Lockwood is a kid that Texas didn't offer out of high school. He had 1 catch for 5 yards this year. Doesn't really fit what Texas is looking at for an experienced guy to come in and kind of bridge a gap with Jordan Washington between Nick Townsend since he's in midterm. So Emory Winston is coming in at midterm. So I don't know about that one. We'll see if that changes. Damon Wilson, look, will he just go back home to Florida? He's from Venice. Texas tried to recruit him in high school. I went to see him, stud player, hardworking guy, big-time talent. It's interesting that he left Georgia, though, on some level, but I think he was about to become a big-time player for those guys. This would have been his year next year. So it's interesting he left. And the degree what Texas would have interest in him, that's tough to say. I mean, because look, what does Trey Moore do? I think a lot of this stuff hinges on what Trey Moore does. Because Colin Simmons snaps are going up next year. And this is what I always say with guys like this. The situation the situation you just left, are you leaving to get in the same situation the next place you go? Like, I don't know. I don't know how much Texas and Damon Wilson would make sense from that standpoint. But Florida Gators are going hard and heavy on them. You do know that.
Yep. All right, Jerry, speaking of hard and heavy, I've got something for you now, and that is our sponsor for tonight. That is Joy Mode. Jerry, I set it up just so well for you right there, buddy. I know you can
look. This is home. This is for that A&M offense you saw in College Station a few weeks ago. Say goodbye to weak erections or offense with Joy Mode Sexual Performance Booster. This all-natural substance to enhance that blood flow, giving you a firmer, more reliable erection, or in this case, offense if you're Texas A&M. But Joy Mode isn't just about better sex. Daily use supports healthier blood vessels. Who doesn't want to make this read? Boosts heart health and enhances your athletic performance. Enhances your athletic performance. I'm going to start dunking again if I take this stuff. Expertly formulated and backed by science. It's proven to improve erectile function by 50% in just 60. Who's not in on this? Simply mix a pack with water and feel the effects within 45 minutes. That's right, Texas offense. Everybody take it at halftime. Take control with Joy Mode. Get your boost anytime, anywhere, and never miss the beat or third quarter scoring. Joy Mode features just 4 simple, proven ingredients. Unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. Join over 200,000 men who trust Joy Mode to boost their performance without side effects. Start your subscription and save up to 30%. Keep your performance at its best without any interruptions.
Try joymode.com. Use the promo code ONTexas, guys, if you don't mind. All right, here we go. This is a question from Patrick Smith. Why did the portal quarterback give up his scholarship to be a walk-on at Texas? This is a young man that played at Houston Christian. He was a backup there, finished with like a 44% completion percentage. I think he probably knows that, the future of being an NFL quarterback is unlikely, and I think he wants a better degree, is what I would guess. If you had to get me going with that question and answer, so that's the best one I have for you right now. I don't think, Patrick, he's even expected to be 4th string next year. Maybe just an emergency quarterback. RW Bobby, has Jalen Gilbo lived up to his offseason hype? I think he's been solid, but he's also been someone other teams go after. Go at him or take your chances with 7 or 5, be that Jahdae Barron or Manny Muhammad. But you get what I'm saying. I actually do. And I will actually say this. Jalen Gilbo often has a more difficult assignment than either Jahdae Barron or Manny Muhammad, because actually Gilbo has to play more man on the inside of the slot than either Barron or Muhammad have to. Texas plays primarily zone coverage with this defensive front that they have, but Gilbo is absolutely lined up in short space in man. And so I hear you, but dealing with the slot like that, it can make you look a little worse. I will say this. Texas went to a 3 safety look a lot on Saturday, or yes, was it Saturday? Last Wednesday, excuse me, against Arizona State because they went with Jelani McDonald because they wanted him to be in the box more. He's a bigger run support guy. And I think that's really what you've seen. The teams that they need run support with, they'll go with McDonald. And if they want pass defense, they're going with Gilbo. And they do that a lot in nickel and dime coverage with Gilbo. I'm not disappointed.
I'll never forget. Yeah. No, I'm not disappointed. I'll never forget back in my ESPN Under Armour days, Deion Sanders was the head coach of the game. And he would always tell the nickels on his team, you better be the best coverage guy I have. Because he said, you're the one that has to play man against the fastest, quickest receivers. and the guys who are the most difficult to defend. To your point.
Yeah, it is what it is. And these days with the slot, it all depends who you're playing to, but primarily that's the issue. Alessandro Franco, who's had the bigger impact for the Horns? Matthew Golden or Adonai Mitchell? Golden, Jerry, just 64 yards short of a 1,000-yard receiving campaign for the Longhorns this year.
I mean, his second half of the season, last four or five games, has been as impressive as any Texas receiver in a while. I mean, and the thing with him too is when Quinn has to have it, that's who he goes to.
Yes.
I mean, that says a lot for a wide receiver in a talented wide receiver room that fourth down, red zones, 4th and 13, fourth down earlier in that game. How many plays in the red zone has Sark drawn up for Quinn to get the ball to Matthew Golden? That says a hell of a lot about Matthew Golden. He plays more snaps than the other receiver on the team. He is the most dependable route runner. Quinn has 100% trust that he is where he's supposed to be all the time. And he hasn't, I mean, has he dropped a big ball? Now, our Arizona State fans, come into the chat, say he dropped the 4th and 13, go for it. I don't know. But has he dropped the ball that really mattered this year, Bobby?
He's dropped one pass, I think. But here, it's not just the 4th and 13, though, Jerry. It was the 4th down earlier in the game. It was the 2-point conversion. Yeah, 2-point conversion. It's not just those. I mean, he is clearly leaning on him more heavily than any other receiver. I think then Gunnar Helm is next. And then you could either look at DeAndre Moore and or Ryan Wingo at this point, if you're not talking about the running backs out of the backfield. He seems to like to hit Jaden Blue on the move quite a bit too. But look, I think Mitchell was part of a 1-2 punch and most likely or most often the number 2 punch a year ago behind Xavier Worthy. This year, Matthew Golden's the number 1 for Quinn Ewers. KD35. I heard Amari Latimer, the running back out of Georgia, is looking to possibly make a decision by April, Jerry. Hope Texas gets him in on January 25. That's going to be hard to get a guy from Georgia in on January 25 when he's got a bunch of different options there that may be a little closer than Austin. But what have you heard lately? We know that Tashard Choice, the Texas running back coach, is recruiting him pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. He is I think he's a top 2 guy for Texas, and he is the bigger back that Texas has zeroed in on in this class for a while. He's been on campus twice. I do think he'll get on campus again, whether that's in January or February. Tashard Choice went to see him during one of the off weeks. Tyrone, Georgia, Sandy Creek, a little southwest of Atlanta, I believe. But I talked to him last week, and look, I think Texas, he is probably out front, but don't quote me because things change on that. He had a couple of uncles play at Miami. Auburn's all over him. Tennessee's all over him. There's a number of schools that are all over him. But Tashard Choice has zeroed in on this class. I really believe the guys right now are Latimer, who's the bigger back. He's like 5'11 and a half, about 210 pounds. Actually doing pretty well in basketball right now. I love that he plays basketball, by the way, for his footwork. And then there's Javian Osborne at Forney, and KJ Edwards at Carthage. I think those 3 guys right now that kind of stand out for Texas in this 26 class. And, Latimer's a key one because what have we seen without Cedric Baxter, Bobby? Inside zone has kind of gone away. And that doesn't mean Trey Wisener's not a tremendous player. Obviously, that was never going to be what Texas did with Jaden Blue successfully in an SEC really good defensive game. But I think Latimer it would be a really good fit with Texas. We'll see if Tashard Choice wins most of his battles. We'll see if he wins one in Georgia. He's won them out of Florida. He won out for James Simon over A&M and Notre Dame. In the last class, I actually think James Simon's going to be a really good player, guys. He had his senior playoff tape after he got healthy was really impressive. But I think Amari Latimer's a big recruit for Tashard Choice, and he's on him significantly for over a year now.
This one from Dax Calum. If you had to choose one, do you take 2023 Texas or 2024 Texas to beat Ohio State on Friday? If that's against 2023 Ohio State or 2024 Ohio State would be my question. Because I would, if it's 2024, I think that I would probably take this year's group. I mean, you didn't have Jonathan Brooks in last year's bowl game against Washington. So even that guy, maybe you might, because of Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat being able to stop or minimize the Ohio State run game. Ohio State did not have Judkins or Travion Henderson this time last year. Henderson was injured as well. So I'd rather play the 2023 Ohio State Buckeyes, to be honest, but I don't think that's an option. But I'd take 2024 Texas over 2023 Texas right now.
I would do it for one reason: the secondary.
Yeah, that's secondary pass rush.
I'm not. Yes, secondary pass rush, secondary and edge pass rush, because you saw what happened. I mean, not that Ohio State has Michael Penix at quarterback, but they do have NFL. Everybody that lines up around the quarterback's an NFL player for Ohio State offense. Smith, Abeka, Carney, Travion Henderson, who's the guy that watching the passing game, I think, outside the Jeremiah Smith coming up Friday. Judkins, G. Scott, who's a big-time receiver, now is a flex tight end. He's a weapon. I wouldn't like the secondary of last year going against Ohio State Friday. I'll say that. And too young at linebacker.
Yeah, I think that Texas, we'll see where Texas ends up here. But, you'll never know, Dax. You really don't. A lot of other questions coming in. A couple, this one from Brendan Bowersox. Jerry, do you think Dalen McCutcheon, Jamie French, or Khalil Lockett will pass up guys like Butler and Livingstone quickly? I really like Butler and Livingston, but the new recruits are studs too. Good problem to have. I'm going to put this out there because I've watched them a couple times in practices. I think it's likely that Aaron Butler is passed up fairly quickly. I don't think Parker Livingston is going to be passed up as quickly. He's got a sense of the game right now that's pretty good for a young receiver. It's not just what he can do and his athleticism. He knows where to be and when to be. He's a hard worker. Not that Aaron Butler's not, but Livingston has that big frame, Jerry, that may be a little bit different. But I think that French and Lockett and McCutcheon may move ahead of those other guys. I don't know about Parker Livingston, though, because I think he's really close, actually, to getting some playing time early next year.
Yeah, and by the way, sorry for my internet connection. I don't know what's going on with it. We're doing the best we can. But, yeah, so we said it last year in the spring. DeAndre Moore, John Tay Cook, they had huge opportunities in the spring because they were going to get the first rep. They're going to get first-team reps. And it's similar, not that Parker Livingston is going to get first-team reps, but it's a similar situation in that you have Khalil Lockett coming in at your position right behind you, who's a elite 50-50 ball winner, great body control, some of the best in the country. You have Jamie French, who I think you can move around, but can also play outside at X as well. So you have to hold those guys off. For Parker, if one of those two guys jumps him, either in the spring or early next year in August, that's a tough spot to be in at that point. That's going to require patience. So Parker Livingston, a big spring coming up for him because it'll be the most meaningful reps he's ever had. And then he's going to have guys, a couple of freshmen that are very talented. So he's got to hold those guys off through the spring and then through fall camp next year. Otherwise, if he gets passed up early, it becomes tougher. He's got to have a lot of patience in that scenario.
It does. And that's part of it, Jerry. Here is another thing to ask that I think is a good question, MJF. I cannot recall a game where Quinn Ewers had the opportunity to drive the field at the end of the game and put us in position to win, tie the game, and he didn't do so. Last year there were two, and OU was a loss, but he put Texas in a position, actually drove the length of field to kick a field goal to go ahead. And then obviously against Washington, they did not make it from the 14-yard line as time was running out in the Sugar Bowl a year ago. This year, there have been two losses, right? One was Georgia, where he did get Texas in a position to win the game with a field goal. Bert Auburn missed. Furthermore, against Arizona State, he did it to put Texas ahead as well, and Bert Auburn missed. So look, I think that he's been pretty darn good as a starter at the University of Texas. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Now, is some of that because of the people around him and the players around him? Absolutely. No Texas quarterback has won more games 2 years in a row now than Quinn Ewers. Or the team has it. My question for Jerry and everybody is could somebody be better? And that's where we just don't know, guys. If somebody is going to end up being better, we'll have to wait and see next year, because it's not going to come out. We're not going to find out this year. This is Quinn Ewers' team, but Quinn's been nails late in games. I would say that, and Sark has been pretty good late in games as well. The play call to Gunnar Helm in the second overtime, Jerry, that was the time to pull that one out. Really, really good time. All right, Locking Horns. Any updates on how Ced Baxter and Cam Williams rehabs or I guess that's probably Derek Williams, given the fact that Derek Williams has got an injury. We saw Baxter on the field in the Peach Bowl moving around. I did not see Derek Williams much there. You hear anything behind the scenes on Derek Williams, Jerry?
I have not. I haven't heard anything like that's earth-shattering, groundbreaking on either one of those guys. I think they're still very early in their process. I mean, look, it's Derek Williams, obviously a few weeks behind Cedric Baxter, maybe not as significant of a knee injury, obviously what Baxter had. But I really think in more late spring is where we'll start to hear some things on Cedric Baxter, because that's, when he starts getting out and running again, that's going to be the key times for Cedric Baxter, and kind of what we hear, what people see with him, what Texas sees with Cedric Baxter. But he's not, to me, he's not far enough in the process to hear anything major other than on track. But again, on track. And then when you get out and you start cutting and doing some full speed workouts, that's when you're really, what does he look like? What's the feedback there? And Derek Williams is too early in the process right now.
Look, there's time for both of those guys too.
Yes.
How they're really doing, we won't know probably till February, March, April. And that doesn't even mean that they're going to be involved in spring ball. All right. Next one let's go to D-Train, because this is something people have been talking about lately. Jerry and Bobby, how does Texas prepare for Ohio State's counterplay and the play action off of it? Typically on a counterplay, what you're really trying to do is spill the play and force the ball carrier to run outside or laterally. So you want him to go side to side and not just be able to hit it straight up in there on the counter. So that means you're trying to spill it, and that means the nose and the three technique, whoever's having it has to get there and play hard. Who is this that we're looking at here? Matt, I guess, I'm not sure what we're doing here with the video, but my point being, this must be video from today's practice. Quinn Ewers and Trey Owens taking some snaps, Arch taking snaps, Taft backpedaling there as well. But how do you handle that counterplay? I think it's just, I've always heard you try to spill the play to the outside and make the running back not go north and south.
Yeah, what makes it where Ohio State's gotten different for me is what D-Train was getting at. It's the play action off of that. Like I rewatched some of Tennessee and Oregon late last night, and man, when they are faking counter and they're trying to hunt a one-on-one man matchup, like Jeremiah Smith went over the top on one, that's where Texas it can get put in some compromising situations. To me, is like some conflict, I should say. Is, look, do they go, if Ohio State has success running counter early, Bobby, does Texas have to take more man chances against Ohio State? That's really going to be the game within the game for me. Texas doesn't do a lot of that, but they also haven't faced a team that, if they get it going running, still have the vertical threats like Ohio State has. So I think it's going to be a great chess match, but I do know this. If Texas can't stop, if they struggle to slow down the counter with not necessarily a light box, but a light and a half box, if you call it that, then PK and Nansen start having decisions to make. Because the thing that worries you in a game like this is if you have to do what some other teams did to stop the run, go man. Because then Ohio State has a guy that you can just throw it up to. You can literally throw it up to him. If he gets a clean release, then it's over against man. And then you just throw it to a spot and let him go get it. So that's what makes it difficult. But they have a lot of waggles and a lot of actions off the counter. Play action, G. Scott is involved. Their pony package with Travion Henderson, they'll fake a counter and then hit him in the opposite flat. And he is dangerous in the passing game if there's a linebacker in space trying to make that tackle. So that's kind of where Ohio State, I think, has found their way. They have, because their counters off of their counter are extremely difficult to stop.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, DJ here with Super Chat. Thank you, DJ. Do y'all think Isaiah Bond will have a breakout game against Ohio State? Because he is a big reason to what Sark wants to do on offense. He has been, but I tell you, but he's been MIA almost 5 games now, 6 games this year. And the ankle is not healing, or Isaiah Bond's just not feeling it because he's not doing much right now. They're not getting the ball, and you have to think it's got to be he's not 100% healthy. Hasn't been since Oklahoma, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I really think that slowed down on the Texas offense. He is the best perimeter catch and run guy on this team, and Sark was using him in that manner before he got injured. Then you couple that with the best deep speed. And that doesn't mean Ryan Wingo's not a hell of an athlete. Matthew Golden ran 10.8. DeAndre Moore ran 10.8. They're all fast, but Bond may go to the NFL Combine and run 4.28 or 4.30. I mean, so you have a guy that you can focus on the perimeter, and then on tape you can show that he can beat anybody over the top. I think that's really hurt the Texas offense with him being out. And look, I think it also made it easier for Sark to move Ryan Wingo around, do more things with Wingo when Bond was healthy as the season moved along, to where, now it's kind of limited. It's limited Sark's playbook in the passing game, injury at the same time as Quinn going down and fighting to get back.
I think it's limited too because he's your guy that you throw quick screens to. Yes. He's the run after the catch guy. He's more of a run after the catch guy than either DeAndre Moore or Matthew Golden. And so that's really where that's limited, those outside screen game. This one from Jack Burton, and little humor never hurt anyone. Will Bevo ever be able to rehab his back after carrying the whole SEC his first year? Georgia might have a little something to say with about that, but certainly right now only one SEC's team still standing, and they have a Longhorn silhouette logo on their chest, and that is the Texas Longhorns, Jerry.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, luckily for Bevo, he missed the SEC championship game because he might have pooed and puked on that one. But at the ending of that game, no doubt. Look, it's interesting. I haven't been on I've been on the move, so I haven't seen any SEC talk, in the last day or so. But I will say this, that it's amazing how the SEC chants for everybody else maybe aren't the same with Texas coming in and having so much success in year one.
It is kind of interesting. Texas is still an outsider of sorts whenever you talk about true SEC. Even I heard Urban Meyer today. Oh, well, does Texas count as an SEC team yet? Because they've only been there 1 year. It's that kind of conversation that people are having. And there's some, to be honest with you, Jerry, there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. Dax Kelm, Jerry, what 2025 early enrollees, signees are practicing this week that you're aware of?
I brought that up because I have some news. I talked with Jonah Williams because we were going to work on getting him on a show before he reported. He reported today. So Jonah Williams' classes don't start until next week and a half. A lot of guys, Myron Charles said he is moving it. He's on the 12th. I talked to Nick Brooks today because I was on the road driving a lot. Nick Brooks is leaving Sunday from Atlanta, driving into Austin, coming into Austin with his mom. But Jonah Williams is on campus now, so he can just kind of sit in on some football meetings and start to sit in on some baseball stuff as well. So the semester doesn't start until obviously in a week and a half or so. But Jonah Williams has joined the baseball team now at Texas. He's on campus, and we'll sit in on some football meetings as well. But as far as guys practicing this week, that's Lance Jackson, that's Justice Terry, that's Brad Spence, and Cole Brevard out of the portal.
Blake Jester here. One last question for tonight. We're going to call it a little early. We've got some internet connection issues, but we do want to get through as many questions as possible. You think we'll see more quick passes to help our run game, especially since we mainly run outside zone? I absolutely do, and I would call for that. I tried to call for it last week while Sark was beating his head against the wall with outside zone and it not working. He finally went to it in the fourth quarter. He threw it to the backs, quick to the outside, and it really worked. Those extended handoffs, Jerry, I expect us to see more of those sooner from Steve Sarkeesian if the regular outside zone game is not working. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I want Blue involved in the perimeter passing game in this game. And look, I want Ohio State. I want to challenge the corners in the passing game, and I would love to see Jaden Blue in the perimeter passing game. I'm not sure he's going to have a lot of success in the run game here unless Texas can spring something outside the tackles. But I would love to see Jaden Blue involved in the passing game in this game because I think he's a guy you got to get your best, fastest, most explosive players the ball in space in this game. And I think Jaden Blue is a good opportunity to move sticks and has a chance to make an explosive play on the perimeter.
Very last question for tonight. What will be the difference in this game, Nathan Ryans asked, that will decide whether Texas will win it? What's the one difference, Jerry, if you had to? Is it stopping the Ohio State run game? Is it Texas getting a run game of its own going? What do you think?
I think it's edge pass rush and third down conversions for the Texas offense in this game. Third down conversions are going to be huge. Can Texas – this is the best defense in the country. They're ranked the best defense. Can Texas possess the football? Because I think Ohio State's going to make them drive the field. Third down conversions are going to be huge. And it may be huge both ways, but I think it's definitely going to be huge for Texas in this game.
All right. I'm going to go, for me, I think I'm going to go Texas offense having the best game it's had all year. I think they're going to have that because I think Ohio State is going to score, and Texas is going up against the number one ranked defense in the country. They're going to have to go score against that defense. First one to 27 wins is my thought process. All right, that's going to do it for tonight's Talkin' Ball episode. Sorry about the connection issues. We'll get that fixed for tomorrow morning's Coffee and Football. Also, thank you to our sponsor, Joy Mode tonight. Jerry, you did that read proud despite the internet issues. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll be back early tomorrow morning. I'm sorry we didn't have time and couldn't get to more questions, but we will definitely make that up to you tomorrow morning. For Jerry Hamilton and our producer, Matt Hutchison, I'm Bobby Burton. Hook 'em.